Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and bishops of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. Salutations to the prophets and beloved brothers who continue to exhort the sheep. This epistle is going to be entitled Rulership Mentality. Rulership Mentality. And growing in this ministry. We continue to abound and growing in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, being led by the apostles and other brethren on down to continue to build up the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to potentially have that rulership authority and dominion over all the nations, if that be our hopeful expectation and lot as we continue to hopefully grow in this ministry and put on wisdom. And are found to be those righteous men, growing in this ministry. So we'll jump into Daniel chapter 6 and read from verses 1 to 3. And it says, "It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first." Daniel was a Hebrew Israelite who was found of a man to have wisdom and authority given from our power, Yahweh, to have that rulership mentality, and more than likely was well versed in all areas to rule in authority. Continuing on, that the princess might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. So this Darius the king, he was confident enough to set up Daniel to be first in that lot, to give an account of all things underneath of him, that he would suffer no damage. So there was a bond there, a trust. Verse 3, "Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him." We're gonna go over that excellent spirit. And that excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So this power of authority wasn't just given to Daniel from Darius, but ultimately it was given from our power, Yahweh, because our power sets up those in rulership and authority to govern the masses, right? And the Most High, Yahweh, has put it in Darius' spirit to put Daniel ultimately in that office, because he harbored an excellent spirit, a very excellent spirit. That's something that the hopeful elect, the men who are working towards that rulership and having dominion over the nations, will ultimately possess, is an excellent spirit. We'll grab Psalms 2. We'll go into Psalms 2. Wrongly. Okay, here we are. Psalms 2. Reading verses 1 and 2. Sorry. Psalms 2, verses 2 and 3. It says, "The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed." Daniel was anointed, saying, "Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." In other words, these other governing nations that have been put into power over the children of Israel, a nation that was supposed to rule in dominion over the entire earth and above all nations, are now cast to the bottom of the totem pole, the food chain, if you will, because of our inability to continue to keep the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our abilities, and then unto perfection, having that most excellent spirit. So as we continue to grow in this ministry, making our calling and election sure, to put on righteousness, having and possess that most excellent spirit like Daniel did, to be given a position of authority within the governing body of the heathens, and then ultimately the transference of the kingdom, we must continue to grow and abound and do our due diligence to make our office and election sure by magnifying our gifts and talents, right? So we have to go into the natural tongue of the Hebrew, the Greek, the Latin. We have to go into resurrecting, if you will. We have the power to resurrect this ancient history and customs that will be ultimately be taught by us, hopeful elect, whoever you are, over the governing body of the nation of Israel, Yasharallah, and then unto all the other nations. Psalms 2 verses 8 to 12, and it reads, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. This is a rulership mentality, right? This is not some thing that we ultimately want for our own desire, but it is the desire to rule in all authority, having complete righteousness reign on the earth, because this is our utmost desires, to bring forth righteousness, because righteousness is ultimately Abanawa Yahweh's will, to have everything set in perfect order and well balanced, so everything may prosper and have life everlasting. That is a rulership mentality, is to be a guiding light unto the people, right? This is the office of the Melchizedek priests. Verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them into pieces like a potter's vessel. All these false identities, languages, customs, behaviors, these malicious spirits, this is what is meant by breaking those pieces like a potter's vessel. This is to bring enlightenment unto those that lack the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding on how to operate in full authority, right? It has to be set in order, and that is placed into the hands of the hopeful elect, the 144,000 priests of the house of David, the governing body, who will have that excellent spirit to rule in all authority, right? Verse 10, be wise now, therefore, O you kings, be instructed, ye judges of the earth. We know that through the scriptures, ultimately, the powers that be, the sons of the Most High Yahweh, are considered those judges, the kings, those princes, those priests, those pillars, those messengers, so on and so forth. Ye judges, how can you be a judge and rule in authority without a rulership mentality, putting on sound wisdom, right? Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son. You cannot build a rulership mentality and put on wisdom and know righteousness if you are not going through Hamashiach Yahweh Shai to receive his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, which ultimately the judge will have the final say and authority whether or not you have accumulated enough brownie points with him by going through Yahweh Shai to put on wisdom. I pray that makes sense. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are they that put their trust in him. So, it is ultimately through the teachings of Yahweh Shai, which spoke in parables unto those who do not have the eye salve to see what he was ultimately trying to convey through dark parables and mysteries. It is blind to those who were not called into this ministry. So if you were called to this ministry and you have received the eye salve to see and interpret and to receive it as sound wisdom, you are now commanded to amplify and magnify your gifts and callings in this ministry, as we know that there is always a sifting process, but predominantly around the Pasach, there is a large sifting, and it is going to happen very evidently visible within the hopeful elect and those that are continuing to do this work and in this ministry. You don't want to be that vessel that has not increased and broken through those plateaus to be elevated, to have that calling and election sure, to have that rulership mentality, right? Because there's a penalty. There is a penalty for not wanting to rule in authority, and it's not something that it's just given to anyone. It's a special lot for those who have the wisdom. It's not a power hungry grab that that's what you want. But the result of refusing to rule is allowing inferior men to rule over you. This is the penalty for not wanting to strive and put on sound wisdom and do the just works in which you were called to, and that also ultimately goes into taking offense for the gospel's sake, right? So if you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, ultimately you're going to get fired and kicked out, and that comes with a penalty, because now you're going to be on the outside of the courts and receive the judgment of not continuing to abound, to be refined into that vessel of honor and strength, as we are so dearly called to do, right? So next verse, we're going to go into the second book of Chronicles, and we're going to read verses 8 to 12, and this is Solomon, King Solomon. He had a most excellent spirit as well, to be given that authority. And let's read it. The second book of Chronicles, chapter 1, verse 8, it reads, "And Solomon said to Yahweh, Thou hast showed great mercy unto David, Dawadah, my father, and hast made me to reign in his stead. O Yahweh power, let thy promise unto David, my father, be established, for thou hast made me king over a people like the dust of the earth in multitude." Now, if you are not practicing and learning what is needed in order to have the mindset already built for you to hold that office, you are not going to be given that rulership and authority to rule over the people. It's just plain and simple. You can't expect to be hired for a role that you have never trained in. You can never be a priest operating under the Melchizedek order if you are not putting on the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to have the behaviors, mannerisms, and the excellent spirit to do all these things. Verse 10, "Give me now wisdom and knowledge, that I may go out and come in before this people. For who can judge this thy people that is so great?" The nation of Yasharal is a great people, and wise and understanding, from the little ones all the way up to our elders. Very wise and understanding. You can be well fed with the nation of Yasharal, those that will be reserved as the 1/3, and leading on up to the house of David. Full wisdom and authority, a great nation of people that can do all things, all things. Verse 11, "And Yahweh said unto Solomon, Because this was in your heart, in your mind," and he said, "And this was in your heart, and thou hast not asked for riches, wealth, or honor, or the life of thine enemies, neither yet has asked long life, but asked wisdom and knowledge for thyself, and thou mayest judge my people over whom I have made thee king." So these material things, the material wealths, these things vanish and perish away. They do not fill those spiritual gaps in your soul to replenish you, unlike wisdom, knowledge, and understanding given from the Most High Yahweh on down unto you, so you can have that enlightenment, to have that reassurance that you're living a life well balanced and no complications come from that. It's a very good gift, right? Verse 12, wisdom and knowledge is granted unto thee, and I will give thee riches and wealth and honor, such as none of the kings have had that have been before thee, neither shall there any after thee have the like. So there's not going to be anyone else after King Solomon who has had this great authority, wisdom, and knowledge and understanding, but now is going to be distributed within the house of David to have those benefactories and to have that power to do that. Because in order to be a light unto the people and a nation, you have to have a government body set up and have the wealth to substantiate, to make those improvements, because finances and wealth and money and all those things, they're just a tool. They're just a tool. You have to know the knowledge on how to use that tool. That's all it is. And that comes with great power and authority, and that's only given unto you through the Most High Yahweh, but you have to stay within that race to continue to grow. We'll jump into the book, the Apocrypha, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, verses 1 to 4, and it says, Hear therefore, O ye kings. This is the same language that's used in Psalms 2, verse 10, right? Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand. Learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given you of Yahweh through Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, because all power and authority was given unto the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, which ultimately is then distributed amongst the elect. For power is given you of Yahweh, and sovereignty from the highest. Who shall try your works? You will be tried and tested in the fire to see if you have those mannerisms, that excellent spirit. Are you going to be reactionary when offended? Or are you going to have a well-stable diet and keeping calm and having that assurance that you know that you're being refined in fire, right? Who shall try your works and search out your counsels? Because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of Yahweh. So our counsel, our wisdom, our knowledge and understanding of all things comes from learning his scriptures. It comes from the elders. It comes from the brothers that have been given a lot to understand certain things. As we know, the gifts and callings and talents that was distributed unto the brothers, we have different strengths. We're different bodies. We're different parts of the body of Hamashiach. Some are well versed in the Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash, and some can translate very well, and some can break down the scriptures so magnificent to remove scales to give you that vision and the knowledge and understanding, right? Almost emphatically. So it's amazing. Next verse, we're going to go into Baruch chapter 4, and we'll read verse 1 and 2. This is the book of the commandments of Yahweh, and the law that endureth forever, and they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Turn thee, O Yaquab, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that ye may be illuminated. It will ultimately extinguish anything that is false. It would extinguish anything that is not well balanced. His wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is going to fortify our minds and our spirits, walking in the truth in the light, as to not quake at the sound of anything that is challenging his authority through us. That rulership mentality, right? It doesn't matter if you're surrounded in a den by a bunch of lions, because ultimately through that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that power from given on high unto you, they will realize that it's not that you are trapped in that den with them, but that those lions are now trapped in the den with you. it will ultimately, magnify the Most High Yahweh Himself if we continue to abound and grow in this ministry to make our calling and election sure. All right. Next verse we'll jump into is found in 2 Timothy. Give me 1 second. I'm using this little string thingy to help me guide through the book while I'm trying to cut the minutes short on the video. So, okay, boom. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. It says, study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So continue to build on your understanding. There's a various amounts of different precepts that are combined in order to give you the strength medicinally in the understanding. There has to be a road path of solid, good stones built on your foundation to lead you into understanding. So rightly dividing the word of truth, that goes into even taking this current language, English, babbling, into the natural tongue, going into the blue letter, the Strong's Concordance, and magnifying what is being said in the scriptures to give you a deeper understanding, which will ultimately put you in a different lot as a hopeful elect, building up rulership mentality, because ultimately that's where all roads lead into a rulership and kingdom minded spirit, that excellent spirit. We'll go into 2 Timothy chapter 3 verses 16 and 17. It says, all scripture is given by inspiration of Yahweh and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instructing in righteousness. You need to have that wisdom built up to instruct in righteousness, to teach people what sin is, what is righteous, to rebuke and exhort, and those that are willing to be exhorted and rebuked for reproof, for correction in righteousness. May they have that blessing of continuing on as well. Verse 17, that the man of Yahweh may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So as we go into the history, to find out the deeper understandings and the mysteries that are written within, it builds the context to give you that enlightenment to moving that goalpost forward into righteousness, having a rulership mentality. And this goes the same for the woman, right? That helpmeet unto that man, right? That helpmeet. If your sole desire is to please the Most High Yahweh, it's ultimately going to be showcased on how you uphold your home in righteousness and support that man in righteousness. 1 Timothy chapter 2 verses 9 and 10, it says, in like manner also that woman adorned themselves in modest apparel. There's a very distinguished, righteous looking woman being shown by what she wears and what her appearance should be. Some women like to put on half a bottle of perfume, some like to cake on paint, and he says adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness. This is also behavior. This is not just a calm mannerism. You're so meek and quiet. No, this is also in your mannerisms. Jumping in conversations you have no business jumping into, being very loud, or being in a man's face. These things are very barbaric, and they have traits of Western civilization and customs, because there's a very masculine spirit that is put on the women in the West here. So with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array. It's not saying that you cannot put on your jewelry and earrings and things such, but there's a level to where you just don't pass. These gigantic elephant-looking hoop earrings, gaudy jewelry that says "Look over here." Look, there's a specific way on how to have that modest and shamefaced appearance. Verse 10: But which becometh woman professing godliness with good works, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. There is an innumerable amount of women who are putting themselves in a position of leadership to speak on things they ought not to, and teaching a mass of people their version and wisdom that it wasn't given to them from the Most High Yahweh. There are this is confusion because there's an order to things. Women aren't going to be called into the Melchizedek priesthood. Only men are. And so beware of the food and the knowledge that you take in, and be just, circumspect in all things. So to put on that righteousness and have that rulership mentality, that excellent spirit, we must adhere to everything that's being said, and practice it. So with that being said, I pray this was edifying. Until the next time, Shalom.